Okay, so some people were asking me questions about drapery. So I thought I would just do a demonstration that was mainly about drapery. And drapery deserves your attention because if you do people with their clothes on, they're going to have drapery. And also, still lifes, you know, it's kind of nice to have drapery. And the other thing is a lot of stuff actually kind of works the same way as drapery in terms of light, half light, shadow, and then the dark, and then the light starting fresh again, and then falling softly into shadow, and then light starting fresh again. So I think it's worth doing. So I'm going to take quite a long time with my drawing, and so therefore I'm going to speed it up. So that you can watch it and not have to watch me spend an hour drawing. So I'm just gonna, first thing I did was I put my little outline here to show how much of the paper is gonna show when it's in a frame. And now I'm gonna say, okay, so I think that line of the table is sort of about right here. The pear is kind of in here. And I am going to draw in the lights and shadows. But not all the half lights and shadows. I'm just going to put in the big patterns of light and shadow. And one reason that's important, besides just helping you to get your objects drawn better, but painting is really about big areas of color or of light and shadow. And so it's not just about outline. So you want your drawing to give you an illusion of how it's going to look as a painting. So then here's this big shadow. This is a photograph I found online, but I manipulated it quite a bit in Photoshop. I took out a few other pears that were in it because I didn't like the way they were placed. So I think when you change a photograph so it's no longer recognizable as the original photograph, you're not really violating copyright laws. And I honestly can't tell if this is a painting or a photograph. So. Okay, and so then this comes up a little higher here. Yeah, I've got my pear up too. Got something wrong here. There's something wrong. I guess I can move that up a little. I'm drawing with soft, fine charcoal or willow, and I don't want to use an eraser on my paper. But I can use, I do have my chamois here, my little piece of chamois. You can buy these at the art supply store, or you can buy them like in the automotive department. They're quite expensive if you buy them in the art supply store, and you'll get more for your money if you buy them in an automotive store and then split it up with some friends. This is a real chamois, so it's really leather. It's really a sheepskin. But a lot of the chamois they sell nowadays are fake. So I don't even know. I haven't bought a chamois in a long time. I don't even know if you can buy real ones anymore. All right, so this last thing kind of comes down here. And I'm going to do a really careful drawing, and that's why I'm probably going to speed it up pretty soon because, yeah, because otherwise it's just going to take me too long. But I'm trying to get sort of the big things in first and then work on the smaller things. And it's really freezing in here in my studio. So we'll just see how that goes too. All right, so this comes in front, and then so I think when you first are learning to, if you're doing drapery studies, I think you should draw them super carefully and try to get everything just right so you're not having to make anything up as you go. But then it's just kind of like everything else. Like if you do this super careful drawing, in a way your drapery won't look natural because it'll look kind of too rigid or too formal. So eventually what I want to do is take the knowledge I have from drawing drapery very carefully and be able to put it into drawing in a much more casual, relaxed sort of way. I feel like I feel like it's kind of hard to not make your drapery look kind of like sheet metal, folded sheet metal, and that's not what you really want in the end. You want stuff that has a nice flow and a relaxed feeling, not like sheet metal. Wow, so complicated. But it is pretty much, you can suffer now or you can suffer later on this drawing situation. So by drawing more carefully now, it should allow me to paint with more freedom when I start my color. You don't have to draw in all the shadows. If you don't draw in where all the shadows are, then I would highly recommend starting with the shadow color so that you don't accidentally put a bunch of light color somewhere that is supposed to be shadow. It's kind of like flowers, right? It's kind of that same thing that you can draw every petal or you cannot draw every petal. And that just influences how the rest of your painting is going to go, if you'll be able to be more casual or if you'll have to be kind of focusing on drawing the whole time you're painting. But this is a straight up study. It's not about, and I don't usually like to study. I just like to kind of do things. But this is not something I would probably choose to paint. It's more like I'm doing it for my own good and your own good. All right, so down, this is a cast shadow right here. And then we have the shadow that rolls over on the fold. Let's make that a little softer. And it's not a bad plan, honestly, to do this in charcoal, just to do it in charcoal on a white piece of paper. Maybe that's what I should have done. You see the paper is kind of sanding off a little bit of the chamois, So you just want to get rid of any of that stuff before you start your painting. All right, so this is this really hard edge full right down here. There's going to be some folds here, folds here. Okay, let's, you know, that's a big mistake. I've made it so many times where you're drawing up here and then you skip down here and you hope you're going to meet up in the middle, and wow, you'd be lucky if you did. So let's just keep working from the top down. Burning through the charcoal. This is like a big, huge place. I just about as soon not have to. Yeah, and look at that, would you? I got that so bad. Okay, so this needs to come over quite a bit closer. That cast shadow I was talking about. And a thing you want to keep track of when you really start, like right now it's okay because I'm just laying in my drawing, but you want to keep track of like strokes that are with the form, so these kind of strokes that go with the direction of the folds, and then the strokes that you're going to also need to have to show that the folds turn over. So with the form and across the form, those are the two things. Okay, I'm dazed and confused, I'll admit it. Okay, let's come back here and try to get a little more. Here's that. And then here's this. I left a clip out in the car, so I'm having to use a little piece of tape up there, and it's not sticking very well. Okay, and then there's, this comes across here and makes that little triangle that I keep wondering about where it is, but let's just say it's there. And then this comes down and makes that really sharp point. Okay, so this is all light, this is dark. This is that. Well, I hope you don't feel as lost as I do when you look at this, but and all of this is really dark too. Okay, so here's that. And you want to also just, as you go on this, you want to have a feeling of the weight of the drapery. And you know what, that's not easy. this is the really light part right here. Everything else a little bit in shadow. This is kind of a reflected light. Wow. Do I think I could start my color? Are you good enough up here, Mr. Pear? Does this come up over the edge of the table enough? All right, here's the shadow on the table. Shadow here on the... Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my darkest blue and I'm just going to start putting in the really darkest places. And I'm not going to worry. I'm going to not worry. That's my goal here, not worrying. All right, so it starts up here. Now, I do not have a way I always do things. I have ways I usually do things. And usually I don't start, I would say I usually don't start with my darkest darks, but that's what I'm doing now because I don't want to accidentally get lighter colors in places that need to be dark. And that's the only kind of technical thing you have to keep in mind about pastels. It's just a little bit easier to get light over dark than dark over light. So if you're a watercolor painter, that's going to seem pretty counterintuitive to you. And look at that, I already found a drawing mistake. Okay, so. And then right in here, it's super dark. Oh, wow, okay. So that's not very dark. This is a very dark spot right in here. It's really dark up in here. Really dark spot right in there too. And just using that Prussian blue, the number 508.3, the color I can't really live without, to do this. Okay, that's that thing. So it's kind of funny, but you know what? I'd kind of forgotten about Pinterest. And so I'm always like Googling things. If I'm trying to find something that I need, like for this demonstration, I'm always trying to Google things like still life with fabric or, you know, things like that. But then where I found this, it actually somehow accidentally stumbled back across Pinterest. And it just, it turned out that was a better place to look than Google for what I wanted. And when I was doing a lot of pottery, I used Pinterest all the time to store my pottery ideas. So you might want to think about doing that to store your painting ideas too, getting the Pinterest app and making a board of painting ideas or art by other people that really appeals to you, because there's really a lot of it out there and a lot of people have already done a lot of work for you. Okay, so now I want to get the color of the shadow on here on the board. And I don't even know if that's dark enough. It's hard to tell with all the red. And then the background in this was just absolutely black, so I changed the color to sort of a purple. Oopsie. I still have not solved my easel problems, as you can see. Or I've tried to solve them by putting a bunch of little pieces of foam core behind and 2x4s or 1x4s and other things like that. Okay, so there's that. You know, I'm always saying don't just start things with the local colors, so I'm just going to start the pear with a little warmer color for the light. And then but, you know, everything else I'm pretty much just starting with what it really is. Okay, so now I think what I'm going to do is try to go for I've got my darkest darks in here, and now I want to go for my second darkest darks. And I'm just going to try this color, this purple. And I don't know if it's going to be right or not. I find it very hard to tell what I'm doing until I get something everywhere. So I'm just going to try to keep it as simple as I can. And actually, that's the only place that looks super purple to me. Some of the other places, the half lights look greener. So I'm going to switch over now and use a green also, if I can find one I like. Yeah, okay, that's good. Ugh, it's not a very big piece. Okay, so here's the really dark, here's that really dark, and then here's the kind of in-between dark right there. And right up in there too. Oh, this is also fairly purple right in here. So I know it's blue, but I'm just sort of asking myself what kind of blue is it, and then I'm exaggerating that a little bit. It looks a little purple right in here to me also. So the thing about trying to draw it really well is just that, you know, it's hard then to find the places to put your colors if you don't have a good drawing. So it just kind of adds to the confusion. So I try not to be too confused, right? I do have some problems, I know. Oh, I see, actually. Okay. I didn't even see these little shapes before. I just saw them now, and then Didn't quite put them in the right spot. But, okay. So let's see. Okay, so here's some green. And I do draw these little lines before I start my drawing, but once I've started my drawing, I go ahead and bring my color out to the edges of my paper. I don't, well, yeah. Oh, that's the wrong purple. So you want to go clear to the edges of your paper, and if it wasn't so hard for me to reach up there, I would move that clip and put the color under it too, because I don't want to come back and get ready to frame and then discover that I've left a big hunk of color showing. All right, so I'm not going to go with the lightest lights yet. I'm just going to try this for my next thing. Thing is, once you've blown out your lights, once you've used your lightest light, you kind of have nowhere else to go. And spraying can bring you back from that because it does make it darker. And then you can work up your lights again. But I just try not to blow out my lights too soon. And it's kind of a problem for me because it means I have to kind of be transposing, if you know that term from music, where I'm trying to make my whole painting is looking a little darker than it's going to end up. I don't have the kind of contrast yet between my lights and darks because I'm not going clear for my lightest light. Now, one thing I could do to kind of help me with that if I wanted was I could just take, this is actually a white, and just put that highlight right there, because I think, or maybe in a little bit right here, just to give myself an idea where the actual lightest lights are. Holy cow. All right, well, I am trying really hard not to start with too many colors or values in here, so. So something that works really great for doing fabric is a terry cloth towel, maybe just a white terry cloth towel hung up, maybe from, try hanging it from 2 points to get this sort of drapery thing, this fold in the middle, or try hanging it from 1 point, and just do some practice drawings. Early on, one of the very best fold things I ever did, it was a terry cloth towel, and it had like 2 red stripes on it. And having those stripes to come up and over the curves, that really helped me too, to get the feeling of a fold. Yeah, but boy, if you start trying to learn how to do folds, drapery and folds with drapery that's got a pattern on it, wow, that's just really too hard. So you want to start with something simpler like this. That's just one color. This is like enough already. And if you ever start to feel really confused, like right in here, I'm like, what is going on there? You can always redraw with your charcoal. Okay, so here's that really dark shape. And then that comes up here and makes another dark shape, which I kind of missed. Okay, here's that other dark shape. So I think it's a better idea to redraw with your charcoal, because then if you don't get it in the right place, it's just easier to cover it up and then come back over it with the dark. All right, maybe I need just a slightly lighter color. It's not actually a lighter color, but whatever. Okay, so here was this, then here's this, and then here's that little triangle shaped thing. It's possible those are both the same color. Well, okay. Oh yeah, I would just cover this stuff up. Sorry, got out of control there. Golly, I do not know what this is on top. I'm just going to put this on it, and then that's the same thing I used for my shadow. And then I'm going to try this purple on it. Oh, that's not too bad. All right, so now I've got the whole thing covered. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep working super broadly on my fabric, but add maybe another color change. Okay, and I'm not exactly doing it on purpose, but it is kind of happening that I'm making some edges harder where actual really crisp edges. I didn't exactly intentionally mean to do that, and then I just realized that I was, so I thought I better mention it. You know, there's some places, so say like right here, it's a pretty crisp edge. And right here too. And then, of course, right here. Holy cow. Okay, I'm just going to stop for a second because I need to stand up and take a break. Okay. So, you know, when I look at this, it doesn't look like it's a blue piece of cloth. It looks like it's striped with greens and, well, blues and sort of pinks and stuff. So I guess I'm just going to see now, can I make it be more together? But okay, so that's too light for there. But could that work in here? Yeah, okay, so that's not bad for in here. Over that green I had. So remember I talked about strokes that are across the form and strokes that are with the form. Wow, okay, I need something darker. I don't know if that was darker, even. This tape is just doing what I usually hate about tape, not actually holding anything, or holding things too much. All right, let's try this here. I still need something darker, but not as dark. And then I had another thing happen just yesterday where a student, oh my gosh, she was trying to soften the edge between the cloud in shadow and the sky. And so she asked me, how do I soften that edge? And I felt like I didn't know the answer. So all of a sudden, things I thought I knew the answer to, which is not actually the first time this has happened to me, but things I thought I knew the answer to, suddenly I feel like I don't know the answer to. So this is a pretty hard edge right along here. And what's happening here is you have light, you have half light, you have shadow, and then we have reflected light along this edge. So maybe the light is hitting here and reflecting back. And then we have the darkest shadow, and then we have, you know, a softening of the edge as it gets further away from the top. There's a lot going on. Oh, and I'm really still trying to find a pink in my life. And still trying not to blow out my lights. Wow, got that, lost the drawing entirely right in there somehow. All right, this is so annoying. Try putting the clip up here and the tape at the bottom. It's probably too cold in here for tape to work. All right, I'm going to use something lighter. Is it this? Could be that, I guess. Oh, and I'm working again on my favorite paper, the Pastel Premier. And I'm just starting to feel like it's getting kind of filled in on the fabric, that the pastel is not, that I need to spray it, basically. So I'm going to work on this a little longer down here, and then I'm going to get the other part up to this level of pastel on it, and then I'll spray it. Wow, I'm kind of confused. So there'll probably have to be some redrawing too. Stop it. Okay, so, well, golly, maybe a little more in there, huh? Since that's just one, that's only one color, so. You can see, I mean, maybe you can see right there that I'm starting to pick up and drag colors instead of actually lay more pastel down on top, so. Okay, so I got to work up here. So I'll just try some of this blue. Yeah, that's okay. Just remember, you don't, and look at that purple, I thought it was scratching, and now that I go over it with the blue, I can really see the scratches it made on the paper. So if you notice your pastels are scratching, well, try to quit using them before you scratch it so bad. But maybe after I spray it, maybe it'll be better. Or I could try to see if I can get rid of it a little bit. Okay, so so I started the pear with sort of the underlying colors I thought maybe I saw in it, and so I'll just see what else. So remember, you're never really trying to make it perfect. You're trying to make it better. Try to do something up here too. Let's see. This is a, oh, good. That's a darker color, so that's good. Oh, maybe there's a little dark edge. Just trying to make sure I do my strokes on the little wooden part in the direction that the planes go. So up and down for the vertical and sideways for the horizontal. All right, so I think probably that's about ready to spray. Guess I should put that little stem on there. Because the stem, I mean, it is there, but it's also a little place that helps me to get the shape of that shadow a little better. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, I'll look for that in a minute. All right, I'm gonna spray it and then work on it some more.